Hey, welcome to Breaking Boxes with No Fun Dave. We're here with a wonderfully amazing woman, Sarah Johnson. You may have seen Bud, the AI genius, on here a few weeks ago, and this is Bud's wife. Now you think, you get all this stuff done. All this, it's great. Look at this great stuff. There's always a wonderful wife behind the scenes that is making everything else happen, from laundry to kids being alive from day start to day end. She has 4 kids. Well, the 2 of them have 4 kids. I asked my wife, how many kids does Sarah have? And she said the same amount as Bud has.
Right.
Thanks, honey. That's really helpful. So they've got 4 kids. And as far as I know, they're still alive and doing wonderfully. But your life is crazy. So and yet you're joyful and loving life. And so welcome, Sarah. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Dave, for having me. I appreciate it.
I just want to know, what's life like in your house on a day-to-day basis with 4 kids and a business and a crazy, how would you describe Bud? Maybe I should ask you that.
Handsome fox. He's going to be watching this. It's definitely pretty chaotic sometimes. I feel like, I don't care anymore, but years ago I would be a little more self-conscious about the circus that we have here. When, people with less than 4 kids would come over, I'd be like, just so you know, it's a little crazy here. But really,
it's just like, apologizing for all the activity that's happening.
Yeah. It's a little loud here. Yeah. Just to warn you. No.
So how do you do it? How do you stay married for, you said 16, we were just chatting beforehand, but 16 years you've been married, 4 kids, work from home together all of the time. Oh, homeschooling all your kids and running a successful YouTube channel, which I'll throw some links in below, but about homeschooling and teaching people. Explain.
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question. Jeez, how much time do you have? And thank you for that. I appreciate all the accolades. I feel like it comes down to just having some routines put in place, and I don't mean to sound like really rigid, but like some rhythms and some responsibilities for everybody. Because otherwise, I think I would lose my mind if I was doing all the things for all 4 kids. So. Yeah, it definitely helps to have some systems put into place.
So would you say then that you guys will you guys come actually make plans for your kids and directions as to where they're going? And I'm going to phrase it from the perspective of you're filling in where they need to learn and grow and give them targets and goals as well?
Yes. And I would say, I don't know, I feel like our homeschool is kind of a mix of sticking to the box curriculum and then kind of doing, tangential things, whatever they're interested in, whatever I'm interested in, and whatever field trips come up in the area. But we have like chore charts that we have for them. And so they know this is the deal. Every day we got to do this stuff. Of course, I still have to remind them, but they know what's up. And so it helps to have our day feel somewhat normal, right? A normal routine that they're going to go through the motions every day. And then nobody has to be like, "What? I'm so bored. What am I? You want a chore to do?" No.
Did I just hear the B word?
Yeah. Don't you dare use that
I can
word.
fix that.
Yeah, that's
I'll
right.
find some W word for you.
I'm totally my parents in that way. And don't you hate it when that happens? You're like, oh, shoot, they were right. You gotta do it.
I meant I'm really joyful and excited right now and can think of lots of fun things to do on my own. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So what would be your favorite part of, I'm going to say your week, but you kind of keep things together. What do you look forward to week in and week out?
Ooh, funny that you say that, because I just put a story up on my Instagram this morning. So Wednesdays, this might seem silly, but anyways, on Wednesdays, the three youngest kids go to gymnastics for an hour, and right next door is a coffee shop. So me and my oldest go, and I get to have my ice mocha, and he brings his laptop, I bring mine, and we do our own thing, and it's just very peaceful and relaxing.
That's wonderful.
So anyways, I do actually really look forward to that, and we still get homeschool done before that and after that, but it's a nice little break to the day.
Yeah. And burning the energy off the younger ones.
Absolutely. And I don't have to, honestly, I would go and watch, but they're like, they would prefer the parents not to sit and watch. So I'm like, okay, bye.
Oh no, please
Oh,
don't.
bummer.
What?
Yeah.
And now remind me the ages of your kids.
So we've got 11, 9, 7, and 5. So
Okay.
3 boys. And then the second kid is a girl.
Last year we put both boys into a parkour class,
Cool.
like kind of like gymnastics, except it's jumping over boxes and swinging off things. And
Yeah.
my goodness, they would come home just drenched in sweat from
I'll
running and
bet.
jumping around these things. It's like, yes, good
Yeah.
night.
They like to watch those kinds of videos. And I'm like, man, I wish we had a gym like that here. So Bud, our like little kid playground that we've had up for years now is like, it's about to fall over. Like it's time. We got to take it down. So he's like, what if we build one of those like parkour looking type jungle gym things out there? I'm like, I think that would be awesome. They would love it.
Put some boxes apart, put some swings and some rope swings. I mean, should we do the fish ladder thing up there too? Or maybe a little young for that yet?
The older ones would do it, I'm sure. Yeah, it'd be awesome. Get all that energy out.
We were just working. My wife's been doing some working out and doing through a plan, and so the kids have been also making their own plan. Like, oh, we're doing a Tough Mudder in July, and so the kids are going to do the Kids Mudder, which
cool
isn't all that exciting, sadly. But
bummer.
it is. It gives them a motivation, like a driving factor. So they're like, okay, we got to do like jumping jacks. And we got to get up into 10 handstands, and just listening through like the activities that they're choosing. It's like, I'm going to throw up on that one. I'm definitely not doing it.
Oh my goodness. I love that they're making a plan though. I feel like that's half the battle, right? Getting them excited and like get into it.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
awesome.
So you were mentioning your homeschooling method or your homeschooling plan. You kind of stick to a curriculum, and then you throw some field trips in there and some, I'm guessing, science and that kind of stuff. But give me a little rundown of what you guys are doing for homeschool.
So, and honestly, we've changed it up like every year. My oldest is 11 now, so 6th grade. And I just, ever since I got on YouTube too, I feel like I started watching more YouTube videos and then found out about this curriculum and that curriculum. And I was like, oh, we should try that. We should try this. So we've had a little bit of, yes, absolutely. A video where I say that. It's funny. So we have tried a lot actually, which I don't know. Some people are a little bit against that because they're like, you're not going to be on the same track if you keep hopping ships from one to the other, but it's okay. We like to play around.
If you're not sure, there's always people against anything that you do. So
True. So we're just going to do our own thing. But so we actually have several different curriculums that we're using right now. So we've got, have you ever heard of the Ron Paul curriculum?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that one's like kind of obscure. Have y'all tried that one?
I watched your video on it.
Oh, no way. That's awesome. I love it. Yes.
I've heard of that. Where did I hear from that? Yeah. Okay.
Well, it was a couple years ago, and I was like, man, having 4 kids is a lot. And I was feeling very overwhelmed and stressed. And I was like, I need to find some video curriculums so that I can have the 2 older ones watching some videos and I can be working with, the younger one and like dealing with a baby, right? Like there's a lot that goes into that. So started doing some research, and Bud actually had heard about the Ron Paul curriculum on a podcast he listened to. So they have all the subjects on there. We do not use all their subjects, but so my 6th grader is using their English, and so is my 4th grader. And then when my youngest ones get up to 4th grade, they will also start using that as well. But I like to work with them hands-on until they're in 4th grade. I feel like that's like that age where they get much more independent and they can actually be like left alone and like can actually get their work done. Huh?
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I can't say that's the case every day. Yeah. I'm usually still having to go, did you get it done yet? All right, show me your worksheet. Did you watch the video? So we still have to go through all that. And then for math, for everybody, and like probably for always, we use Matthew-C. Have you heard of that one before?
I haven't heard of that one, no.
Okay. It also comes with like it's DVD based or online, and you can watch the video, because math was that particular subject that I was like, I feel okay. I feel adequate at math, but I don't know that I can get what's in here to you and make it make sense. Like that was one that I was like, I just don't know if I can teach that. So got a video for that one and it's awesome. Like, and honestly, my older sister had used that with her kids and it was great. So I was like, okay, we will use that forever and always. And then for science, that's the one that we just kind of like do what we want to do. So like, what are you guys interested in? Okay. Yeah. Let's look up a YouTube video. Let's find an experiment. We've gotten like science experiment kits as gifts from family members, stuff like that. So that one, I feel like, I don't know. We've done the curriculum thing with science before, but I kind of like letting them in that subject just be like, I want to learn about this. Okay, great. Let's do that. I feel like that's an easy one to let them choose, right? And then for history, have you heard of the Tuttle Twins? No. Okay.
No, I haven't.
All right. So the Tuttle Twins, I feel like that came out of the Ron Paul world as well. At least hearing about it, not like he didn't produce it.
Yeah.
But anyways, they've got all these books about like the principles of freedom, but they're written for children to understand. So they've got these little like mini books and we got those years ago and loved them. And then like 2 years ago, they came out with a history book and now they've come out with the second part. So that's what we use. And so it's still written like a story where you read from the children's perspective and how they're learning about it and like the questions that they come up with and how they apply it. So I feel like it makes it more interesting to our kids because it's like, I'm not just reading to you a bunch of random names and years that you could care less about. Like it kind of helps tie it back to them because it's, told through the perspective of kids their age. So Tuttle Twins is the name of that.
And the crazy thing is like history is so interesting if it's presented in story, if it's presented where you've got a framework to understand what's happening when. Like we're going through right now. I mean, where we are in the world, we were in Spain last month. We're in Cyprus this month, and so the towns that we're visiting are like, oh yes, this is Amathunta, which was started in 1300 BC and was inhabited by a independent nation that was friendly to the Phoenicians, and then eventually the Romans came in and took over. And then as you move forward, then you get into like mid-ages Venetian rule because it was the last bastion of the against the Ottoman Empire. It's like you're going through all of these. Like, okay, let's take a look at all of world history in one spot.
Yeah.
Like, okay, right. So we've actually had to make like I acted out world history.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it's like, okay, this is where this town right now, because you've got Roman ruins that were built on Phoenician ruins. So you've got Phoenicia, and then you've got Rome, and then you've got the Crusades on top of that. So those are going to be oftentimes Islamic buildings then taken over by English builders. And so you've got castle upon castle upon castle upon castle. And so then you start looking at the size of the stones. It's like, oh, that has to be Roman era because of how the stones are cut and how big they are. Oh, that must be Crusades period because these are small stones stacked on top of the big stones that were left. And anyways, this village of Amathunta, it's like, oh yeah, there were a whole lot more Roman stones here, but they took those to go build the Suez Canal in the late 1800s. It's like, so you're telling me that the Romans even had a piece building the Suez Canal?
Whoa.
And so anyways, you're tying all these things together where dead people are buried. What's it called?
Cemetery?
But I mean, ancient times, like catacombs or...
Catacombs,
anyways.
Yeah.
And so they're all carved out of these, like this huge area carved out of the rocks, and some have like underground Roman pillars and roofs, and it's like, okay, this is a good history education.
Yeah, absolutely. To be able to walk through it, that's incredible.
Yeah. So, okay, I want to know what the messiest science project you've ever done with your kids was.
I feel like this is kind of lame to say, but that oobleck.
Oh, that's
oobleck?
Nasty. My wife loves it for some reason.
I love it too.
I do not.
Or making slime, which is silly. Is that even really everybody makes slime these days? But I mean, those are very messy things to make.
I'm not sure everybody makes slime. I don't think it's like pasta. It's like, hey, do we make pasta or slime today? But I think it's kind of a homeschooling science thing.
It became like such a trendy thing. And I was like, I'm kind of over this. This is really messy. It's really messy. I mean, we've also done, and I don't feel like, again, this feels very Bush League, but like we did the Coke with the Mentos, but we did that outside. So like, I don't care, obviously, if it makes a mess outside, but that is like, obviously, big explosion. Yeah, I don't think we've done anything else that's been like, all right, that's really messy.
Toughest thing life-wise that you've had to kind of like overcome in transitioning from, I mean, I know this is going back a lot of years, but, you know, just you and Bud together to now you have to, you know, run an entire operation, an entire school. You know, people who aren't in the homeschooling activity, it seems daunting at times. What are some of the things that you've had to overcome in that?
Oof. Yeah, that's a good question. And I feel like part of it has to do with what stage you're in, like how old your kids are. Because yes, we did start this from the very beginning. So like having toddlers and babies all throughout was really challenging, especially, I don't know, the more kids you have, the harder it feels like it is to get out of the house. Like it's like a chore, right? Like to get everybody ready and then to like herd the cats, right? While you're out and about is like, feels like a lot when they're little. Oh, sorry, I've got my notifications on.
Sorry.
And yeah, so I feel like I don't know. There were definitely times where it could get a little lonely. And it was mostly because I didn't have the energy to like go do a whole lot and be getting together with a lot of people. And so that's something that you can fix. But when you're in that stage of having really young kids and also being sleep deprived, right, when they're babies, that is tough. And so from going, you know, from like, I shouldn't say carefree necessarily, but like, yeah, when it was just Bud and I, yeah, you know, it's just totally different going to like, okay, now we've got like these kids are here 24/7. They're always here. No, but I mean, to be honest though, like I was working a full-time office job that I didn't really like. It wasn't like I had a passion for it. And it was like the typical, like I was in a cubicle with fluorescent lights. And so
Ooh, lovely.
I was very, very grateful to not have to do that and to be home, and that Bud was willing to take that financial burden on and go out and like, you know, go out and earn, son. I really, really appreciated that. And so I think sometimes for the wife and mother, it can be a little bit challenging to be like, I'm incredibly appreciative of this, the sacrifice that you are making for me to be here. But also like me being here is also hard in its own way. And so it's this difficult thing to balance where you are grateful to be there, but it still comes with its own large load of challenges. Yeah. I don't know if that answered like a specific exact thing.
No, that's good. It's interesting. Like I remember when Sherry was, she very much wanted kids, and I don't think I really did, and that's not a secret to my kids who are listening in the other room there. She said to me, "But don't you want what your dad has?" My dad now, like when he didn't really want to be a dad, my dad, even though he was a great dad. But as we became teenagers, and as we got into our 20s and our 30s, like we go on boys' golf trips, like we make use of our father-son relationship, and it's wonderful. And she said, well, don't you want what he has? And I said, yeah, I really do, because I don't want to be alone when I'm older.
Yeah.
And she says, well, in order to get that, you're going to have some kids now.
Oh, man. Got to go through it.
So we did. And as I explained to my first one, he's like, you didn't really want me, did you, Dad? No, I didn't. But no, it's true. We always share truth with our kids, and we you know, humans are humans, and you got to deal with it as with truth. So I'm gonna give it to you straight. I said, but we went into the hospital, and we were in there a week because we had some complications with the first one. And I said, I went in there, and I didn't want to be a father, and I left thinking that I always had been. And there was like this switch of like, well, no, this is just. It's always been this way. It's like this, it wasn't a learning experience. It wasn't anything else. Anyways. And so when you say, oh yeah, well, like you have to switch from being, you know, just the two of you to now having all these different responsibilities. It's like day to day, when you look at what you're doing, it's like, oh man, there's just so much to do. And you look at your single friend, or not your single friends, but like your married friends who haven't had kids or decided not to have kids. And it's like, man, you guys have time to like plan out your lives and think about how you feel about each other. Like, well, we don't have time for that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. What I feel like Bud and I say all the time, we're like, what were we doing before we had kids? Because we were married for almost 5 years before we had kids. And we're like,
Yep.
we just wasted all that time. I mean, we still had a great time, but I'm like, we were trying to be responsible and like save money. And we're like, so now this could be terrible advice, but for us, when we talk to like our older niece and nephew, like our niece just got married, we're like, just spend all your money on travel. Don't save. Just travel. Because once you have kids, I mean, you guys are traveling, but like,
Yeah.
you know, it's different and it's challenging. Like, just enjoy your life because it gets much more challenging. And we
no matter how
love
much you have when you start, you're gonna
yeah. And we do love to travel. We did not do it as much in the beginning years of having kids, really. And so once we moved down to Savannah, which was almost 7 years ago, I feel like we've done a lot more of it. Thank goodness. And it's really fun. We haven't gotten to the level that you guys are at, though, like abroad.
We're
that has
crazy
not happened
people.
yet.
We're
It's
just
amazing.
crazy people. It's okay.
I think it's awesome. That's
Actually,
a goal.
The reason for it though was we've similar to how you were explaining what you do with you guys with your kids, is we're always planning ahead to what we want to do with them, how we want them to grow, the kind of adults that they're going to become, and we plan out what they're working on and the sort of the hard issues, the hard attitudes that they're working on growing. And Sherry came across this post that said, now I'm gonna butcher the numbers, but like 80% of the amount of time that you get to spend with your kids is done by the time they're 13.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. When you start
That's
calculating,
crazy.
it's like, oh yeah, because then they're at, I know not in your case, but like they're at school and they're at extracurricular activities, and they're at friends' houses,
right.
and then they're off to university, and then like the actual amount of hours that you get with them are so concentrated up front that as you move forward, you're like just life. You just don't have as many of them, and so we said, well, what would we want to give them while they're still in our care? And our oldest is 10, so we've got 5 years, 6 years left before they're off and working and doing other stuff. And said, well, we want to show them what the world has to offer. So we end up broke by the time they're out of the house. Then so be it.
Yeah,
we're going to show them what the world has to offer. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting thing. And of course, like any choice they make in life, you just got to, I would always much rather make a choice, whether crazy or not, than just kind of let life happen, or, well, no, I can't do that because I want to stick to, hence the title of the podcast being Breaking Boxes, because I try to stay away from boxes as much as humanly possible.
And I feel like I had a lot of boxes, and it's taken a long time for me to break out of those and feel like, oh, like I feel like I would say exactly that a lot of times. Like, we can't do that. Oh, we just can't. Well, why not? What's really the answer? And there's always going to be a why not? Yes. But there always is a positive side to it. Like, it's not impossible, right? You guys have figured out how to make this work. I think it's all in what you really, really want and having the courage to like go after it. So yeah, I think
heard
what
somebody
you guys
say
are
it
doing
best,
awesome.
and actually it was in there another podcast that I did with Tony Lombardo. But he was saying one of the thinkers that he knows said, instead of asking yourself what's the worst that can happen, ask yourself what's the best that could happen. It's like,
yeah,
oh, well, yeah, I guess it could go right. It could go really right.
Yeah.
But we only ever ask ourselves, well, what's the worst? What's the downside? What's the negative? Which is part of planning and part of risk assessment and all that kind of stuff. But then it's like, you actually got to think of it and say, well, okay, what's the other side? What's the best that's going to happen? Well, the best that happens is that the kids see the world, and that we grow together as a family, and we spend time on our relationship, on our four. And I don't know, that sounds like a pretty cool positive. So
yeah.
okay.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I feel like,
switch over. Go ahead.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Well, just, I'm sure you guys hear this a lot too, where people will say like, oh, I couldn't homeschool, like just to be home with the kids all day. I couldn't do it. And honestly, especially with the numbers you just gave, if you are up to 80% of the time you'll ever spend with them by the time they're 13, that really gets you. And I'm like, I get it. I get what you're saying. It is hard sometimes, but I couldn't do the opposite. I couldn't send them away 6, 7, however many hours it is, 5 days a week. I couldn't do that. Like I would be sad to miss out on it. And if you watch me in my day to day, you'd be like, are you sure? Are you sure you'd be sad? Because like,
you're crazy,
I certainly reached my breaking point plenty of times. And I'm like, you guys, I'm going to strangle you. Yeah, that certainly happens. But if it was the opposite, I think I would feel like I am just missing so much. I'm missing so much of what they're doing. And I want to be the one, well, me and Bud, to imprint on them. Yeah. Like we want to be the major forces or roles in their life that they learn from. And, so I just feel like it would be, I think when I got to the end of my life, I would think I should have spent that time with them. I should have done it. So
living life without regret. I think it's interesting how, people say, oh, well, that's really hard. I couldn't do that because it's hard. It's like, no, it's hard anyways. Like there's no easy. So,
yeah.
So proactively pick a hard that's going to have some long-term benefits as opposed to saying, oh, well, I can't do that because it's hard. Well, what you're doing is hard. It's just that you've learned how to do it. You just have to learn something new. And I think a lot of people are just afraid of learning something new because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, totally with you.
Yeah. Sorry, I got my facial expressions. There's a facial expression for everything, right?
I'm here for it. That's great.
One of the things that I so appreciated. Now, I'm gonna infer here because I don't know this for sure, but I'm strongly guessing. When I messaged Bud a few weeks ago, and he messaged back and said, "Oh, basically, yeah, I can chat with you later, but I've got this." To go, he was either for coffee or walk or runner with his wife, and then did this with the kids or something. And it's like, interesting how he is, and I'm guessing that this is a relational thing where you guys actively make time in your crazy just to appreciate each other, just to talk to each other and make space for that. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. I think that is like the biggest reason our marriage is still going strong.
And it's 16 years.
Certainly had 16 years. I was 19, he was 21. And I feel like when we got married, there were people who would say, gosh, even people I didn't even know, like a stranger I'm telling this to, and they're like, ooh, that's probably not going to last long. Like you guys are too young to, I'm like, geez, thanks for the vote of confidence. But we've had obviously a lot to learn in that time and growing up. But as it's gone on, I'm like, oh, you know what? Here's the funny thing. 30-year-olds are still growing up. And I bet if you talk to a 40-year-old, they'd be like, yeah, we're still growing up too. And so on and so on. Like, you never stop growing. And so I think eventually we realized like, well, yeah, we were young and we felt like we were growing up together, but that's just going to keep on happening. And so we've certainly had friends and family members, get separated, get divorced. And each time that happens, obviously, gosh, it hurts, it stings, and you feel it too. But it pauses you and you have some reflection, right? And you go, okay, like let's think about, not that we could possibly know all the true ins and outs of those people's marriages, but you can sit there and start to dissect your own marriage. Okay, so what are we doing? That's great. What do we need to do more of to like make sure that what just happened over here, we just witnessed, doesn't happen to us, and put in some of those safeguards. And good grief, I feel like the biggest thing that people say, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way, is communication. And I think that word back in the day felt a little like the Sunday school answer, but also kind of nebulous. Yeah. You're just like, okay, yeah, we talk. What about it?
The reason why it's the Sunday school answer is because people don't understand what it is or what it looks like. So they'll say, oh, well, we need to communicate. Okay, well, we're communicating right now. How is that any different than anything else? But we relate it this way. And Sherry and I are also very formulaic people. I want to plan. I want to like figure out what's the formula to this thing. And so
we have to talk 1 hour every day to make sure. Yeah.
and that is totally not us. But it's like, okay, so when our first year of marriage was rough. We were very we weren't very compatible.
Get some spicy fights in that first year.
Yeah, there was some spice. I would run away and she would throw the reverse daggers on her way out. The parting jabs back, right? Anyway, so we've been there. We sought out some friends who had just a marvelous marriage and said basically like, okay, we need some assistance here because we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And they took us through this plan of problem restitution. Now they called it that. Okay. And it's like, we think that we're owed something and we set expectations. And this is one of my phrases that I've coined for now, but expectations are the seeds of disappointment. So if I expect you to do something, you can only meet it or fail. There's no success. It's like, hey, great job. You met my expectation. And so as soon as we expect you to do something, instead of taking the position of I'm owed nothing and I will rejoice when any of these good things happen, instead of taking the, hey, that's awesome, way to go, and instead saying, well, I expect this and I expect to feel this way and I expect to be treated this way and I expect. And then when those expectations aren't met, it's a negative and it becomes like a check mark in the box of, well, now I'm frustrated with you because you didn't pick up your socks. That's me, by the way. I'm the guy who doesn't pick up his socks. It's been 16 years for us too, and I still don't pick up my socks. Anyways,
do you even care?
You think
that's what we think,
and that's the question. And so then you think so then the approach to Sherry in this one was, okay, great. He doesn't pick up his socks. Are you going to get divorced over socks? You said, till death do you part. You said in good times, in bad times, in great times, in hard times, in richness and poorness. You said these words. It's like, in good or bad, except if he leaves a sock and doesn't pair it and bundle it and throw it into the laundry, then, we're out, right? And
deal breaker.
And so yeah, exactly. And so then you look at communication, and if you continue to not address those little things, then they just keep checking up. And so you actually have to inform each other of what them doing something actually makes you feel, or whether it's right or wrong, whether it's ridiculous or not, whether you've put the toilet paper on the wrong way and so that it comes behind instead of in front. And then give the person a chance to actually love you and do it the way that you're asking. And if not, that's fine too. Then there's this level of forgiveness that happens in marriage that actually erases all the problems. So the communication cycle ends up being, okay, this thing that you're doing is frustrating me. I would really like you to stop. Oh, I'm sorry. I did not realize that problem was a problem. I will do my best to stop, although I've been doing it this way for 20 years. So it may take me some time to learn how to undo it. Will you please forgive me for this problem? Yes, I forgive you. I erase this problem. And now there's no check marks, because any problem that's been forgiven, honestly, is erased. It doesn't happen. It doesn't get brought up again. It doesn't get rehashed. It doesn't continue to add to your negative feelings. And so then we talk to these people who get divorced, and it's like, yeah, well, I just couldn't stand to be in the same room with them anymore. This is somebody you said you wanted to spend your life with, and you can't stay in the same room with them. Like,
yeah.
Anyways, That
Yeah,
was a
that's
that
pretty
was a
rough.
rabbit
No,
trail a long ways down the
no,
path.
no. I'm totally with you. And we have not been taking these walks together for very long. It's maybe been like a year and a half that we have done this. And that's because our kids are a little bit older now. And we feel like, okay, we can stay within the neighborhood.
The house
Our
will
11-year-old
not explode
can
while you're
hold
gone.
down the fort. They'll be okay. Yeah. We usually try to go like during, like we either put on a show or like let them have their iPads and we just do a 30-minute walk. Okay. So it's not crazy long, but yeah, I'm excited for like as they get older, we'll be able to do more things. And so anyway, so that has been huge though. I feel like if we can do that multiple times a week, like it gives us that uninterrupted time. Cause obviously as soon as he comes in from working, he works in like the detached garage. So like don't actually see him all day long. Like he's in here to say good morning. He comes in for lunch and that's, it's not, yeah. Yeah. And so when he does come in, all the kids and me are like, talk to me, pay attention to me. And so it's a lot on him. So anyways, to get this like uninterrupted time to talk is huge. And I can kind of like decompress and like how the day is going. So we usually take this walk in the afternoon. He can share, you know, what he's been working on, what's going on and different thoughts that we have. And it just is like, you need that time to like hash things out. Like, I don't even know if we would be, I don't know where we are with our homeschool either if we didn't take time to talk so much. Like obviously when the kids go to bed, we also spend a lot of time talking then too, because you need to, like the mom is not meant to just parent the kids on her own, you know, right. Even if the dad is working most of the day, we need the dad's input. Right. And so, gosh, it means so much that he cares enough to listen to all of it. The minutia, like so-and-so spilled their cup of milk this morning. And you know what I mean? Like it's stupid stuff, but like in those years, that is your life. Like this is what happened today and what nearly sent me over the edge. And I need someone to bring me back down to sanity. And so that, goodness, y'all's role is extremely important in like keeping our sanity. But being able to like hash out what the different kids, like if they're having behavioral issues, personality things, heart issues, and like, okay, let's work through it together. And Bud always has this, it's a different perspective than mine. And so he can help me to see it in a different light and maybe suggest handling it in a different way. And of course, he's like, if ever you need me to just come in and like, if you just need to step out and I will come in and deal with them, you know, because I'm about to, you know, break down. He can come in and do that. And that is a huge benefit of him obviously working from home is that he is usually here on the campus. And so he can come in and do that. But I appreciate that he's like, it's okay if you interrupt me. You know, I feel like there would be some people who would be like, dude, I'm working. Why are you asking me for this? This is your job.
Right.
You know? And so I appreciate that he shares that responsibility, that role with me completely, even though it is more in my, you know, role because I'm the one in here most of the day with them. I don't know how you guys share all of those things, but
it's very similar. I mean, we said from the time that we had our first one, and it's like, you know, we want to raise them. Like we want, as you said, we want to be the influences. We want them to be little versions of us, not somebody else, not TV, not school, not friends. And the way I heard it described to me that really stuck was if no matter how small the issue, it's big to them. And if you're willing to make important to them what is important to them when it seems silly to you, then the inverse will be true later in life. So if I can flip that the other way, if you don't care about their little problem, because it's like, well, that's stupid, they spilled the milk, it's no big deal. Yeah. Why on earth would they come to you when they really have a problem?
Yeah.
And you think of it that way, Absolutely. And it's like you're investing into when they're 25 and it's like, Dad, I need truth. I need to know that I'm getting something from somebody who cares about me. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
They learn whether or not you care about them when it doesn't matter to you.
Oh gosh, the amount of Minecraft stories that I have sat through. Oh my gosh. I'm just like,
And the problems. Well, I really wanted to sit next to this person at the table, and it's awful that I'm not sitting next to that person. Okay, so let me get this straight. You're sitting across from them, but that's not anyway. It's like we can make light of all of them, but
yeah. Oh yes.
So
yes.
But yeah,
no,
yeah,
that's
being
a good
able to step in. Yeah, being able to step in when things actually are the problem, and that's part of the other problem about people whose kids are gone all the time in school or in programs or extracurricular, is that you need to reprogram them when they're back home. Like they're living an alternate life to your home life. I mean, I know how I was in school. I behaved a certain way at home. I behaved a different way at school, right? So I mean, maybe you were much more upstanding. I don't know, but
Bud and I are like, man, we were like the golden children in our family. This sounds really like,
wow.
But good our kids are not that way. No, none of them are like us. And I'm like, how did we end up getting like the most rebellious spirits? I don't know. Anyways, none of them are like us. And I think it's just funny because like I'll say to my older sister, I'm like, I got your kids and you got mine. What is up?
This is wrong. This is wrong.
I know. No. Anyways, but everybody is just so different. And you're like, all right, we're just going to have to figure this out, I guess, all together, live and in color. Here we go.
I love hearing about relationships that are wonderful. I love hearing about marriages that are wonderful and families that are, and I know it doesn't feel this way when you're actually doing it, but you're firing on all cylinders and actually, as you say, managing your campus well, as you explained your house. So I do have to ask about the YouTube channel, because you have I'm going to say a huge YouTube channel of a whole bunch of homeschooling information, and basically what we've talked about times 100 from the last, I want to say 3 or 4 years you've been on.
Four now.
4 years. Okay.
Really crazy.
And you admitted, so I'm going to hold you publicly here. You admitted that you need to get back on the bandwagon of producing content regularly. Yes. And I'm going to I'm going to ask you a question about it, but I'm going to challenge you to fall in love again with the process, not with the product. So the process of making the videos and capturing and coming up with ideas more than the deadlines and the whatnot. So what do you have coming up? What are you going to be adding to this thing?
Oh goodness. I think that's so. As far as content goes, I feel like I've been doing a lot of changing in my views of how kids learn and education and how we even want our homeschool atmosphere to be. And so I felt like, I think I told you, it was like back in June last year is when I probably put up my last regular video. And then I just put one random up in the fall. But I felt like I couldn't get on and like explain anything very concisely, because in my head it was all sort of morphing and changing. And I was like, what do I have to bring to people right now? Because I myself am changing so much of my thoughts about all of this. So been listening to different books and podcasts about all of this, and just kind of looking at our own house, looking at our own kids, and kind of how things have been going so far. Now that our oldest is 11, we're like, oh, what have we done well? What have we maybe not done well enough? What can we improve upon? So I'd love ideas. Anybody listening, if you want to comment, what is it that you are just dying to know, whether you are a homeschooler or just have been thinking about it? Yeah, I definitely would love to know. What is it that you want to hear? But
I've got one.
Tell me.
I want to know how basically dive into the methods you've used to get your kids to work and achieve on their own. Okay. That is one of the biggest challenges that we're getting there. We're getting there. Ours are 10 and 8. They're on the train, but it's like trying to set up a program so that they can look at it, I need to do this, this, and this. Get the stuff, do the work,
Yeah.
clean it up, mark it on the sheet, and be done. It
Yeah.
sounds simple.
It does, until they don't want to do
Yeah.
it. I do have a video that is out already. I forget what the name of it is, but it's basically like our reward system, which Bud actually came up with, my husband. And so we have like a box of prizes that they can earn. They're like all from the Dollar Tree. So it's cheap way to reward them. There's also things in there, or things that they can get that are like, they could get extra iPad time, or they could stay up late for 30 minutes, which is like a big deal because we're like pretty regimented on like bedtime. So they're like, oh my gosh, we could stay up 30 minutes late. It's a big
And then
deal.
they go to sleep early anyways.
Yeah. So that has helped us a lot, where we have basically they start in the positive. They all have 5 stars to start the day, but then they can lose them, and they lose them for, now I say this, I'm sure I don't carry it out the same way every day, but the goal is to be like pretty strict about it. Like, if you are going to, come back at me about not wanting to do an assignment, like more than just one time, like, all right, we're going to lose a star for that. You know what I mean? So that has actually helped a lot, because I feel like it's hard to use like your normal discipline within that, like at least the book work school time, where you're like sitting down and having your formal lessons. And so it's been helpful to be like, okay, we've entered this like formal sit down time. And if you're going to complain about it and have a bad attitude, or just stare off into nowhere, not get anything done, then you're going to lose stars. And there is a consequence if they lose all their stars too. So we do iPad time every afternoon for an hour. And so if they lose all their stars during school, they lose their iPad time, which is like, the worst punishment in the world. So there is, oh, we don't do that anyways, but no, they love Minecraft. And
sorry. I got the wrong game. I apologize.
Yeah, the wrong
game.
The
Minecraft game.
It's
totally
Minecraft.
Wrong. Yeah.
Something called Goat Simulator. I don't know, these weird games. But anyways, it works really well with them. And I feel like I have some other videos too that have some good suggestions in there, but that is a good one. And I feel like I can update that. That is a good idea, because it changes as they get older. Like my oldest Titus, he's 11. He's not quite as enticed by the same little Dollar Tree toys that we have in there. So we have to like step up our game a little for him.
Anyways, so, yeah.
I know, exactly. And honestly, I'm like, you no longer can get the late bedtime, because like by 9 o'clock, I need all of you to be, and that's his bedtime. Like, I need everyone out.
I need coffee in the morning and you guys in bed. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, that's that has been really helpful though, because there were many years that I was just, would complain to Bud, like, good grief, I don't know really how to get them to be motivated, like you said, to get it done. Which is funny, because I was a star student. Like, I didn't need a prize. I just wanted to get the work done. It just sounds like such a nerd, but like, I didn't need that outside motivation. I just was like, look at me go. I'm a good student. Like, but I got all these kids who don't feel the same way. Yeah. I know. Like, come on. But there are certain subjects that they don't normally complain about, and it's fine. But then we hit certain days. I guess there's certain concepts that they're just like, they're just done and they just don't want to do it. And Bud has been, so I get kind of tunnel vision when that happens, and I'm just like really want to push through. It gets really ugly. And Bud's like, maybe you just skip it for today, right? Let's just not do it. And I'm like,
you don't understand the program that we're on here, Bud.
I'm like, that's valid. That's valid. And I've heard a lot of homeschool parents say that. They're like, honestly, relationship over curriculum. If you had to beat the curriculum into them, was it really good? No, probably not. So let's, prioritize the relationship over knocking out all of our curriculum pages. So
or knocking out all their teeth for not following it or something like that.
I'm like I want to check off every page in the curriculum. Yeah. So anyways, we're a little different in that way, but it's good. So together we hopefully make a better homeschooling experience. At least we try. But yeah, so I'm hoping to make I am hoping to make more videos here soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Love to be a help.
I'll put some links up in wherever this goes. We do Spotify and Apple and YouTube on it. So I'll
Nice.
put some links to Sarah's channel on there. The Johnson Crew, I think it's called.
The Johnson Crew.
Is that correct?
You nailed it.
The Johnson Crew.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a household name.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
it's just like the bucket list family. Everyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
One day.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and just sharing a little bit about your life with me, with us. Sometimes it feels, especially in our homeschooling worlds, in our work from home, school from home, live from home, or wherever we are, sometimes it can feel lonely and you think you're the only one doing it. And there's nobody doing the same things you are, nobody feeling the same things you are. But it's a great big wide world out there, and there's always somebody that cares and that you can reach out to talk to. But follow Sarah's stuff there, and if ever you have any questions, you're listening to this, you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and we'll try to help you any way that we can. But thank you, Sarah, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And,
super fun.
And I hope, it's Friday. I guess tomorrow's Friday. So we have the day off. We planned the day off tomorrow. So we're actually going to go do a beach day. And they're done school for the week already. So it's going to be a great day tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Hopefully your next week, you don't have to lay the hammer down.
I'm not. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Anyways. Thanks so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye.